This week, we've seen shape-shifting spies, intergalactic caretakers, and a new superheroic theme song. Let's dive right into what's on the pull list. Kicking things off, let's look at Aquaman number 8, written by Jeremy Adams with artwork by John Timms. For Jeremy Adams' time on this book and for my history with Aquaman, I gotta say, I'm still digging what I'm getting here each and every issue. It feels like an adventurous fever dream. Arthur is kind of pulled out of like the generic places where he's generally been here, being the king of Atlantis and kind of spending his time there. This has kind of drawn him out of his comfort zone, albeit still being aquatic. But we're seeing a more adventurous time with Arthur and with a band of heroes that are, aligned with him, but not normally in the DC universe. I'm really kind of digging that. Will it all come undone? Time will tell on that part. Tim's being back on this book, though, really makes it shine. I'm so glad that he's back because he gives it this frenetic energy that the series really needs. It makes it bold and it gives that adventurous tone to the things that Jeremy Adams is doing. It kind of gives the visual aspect of that as well. The other cool thing about this is that we've kind of had the smoking gun since Jeremy Adams took on the title of Aquaman, that Arthur has these new powers. He can manipulate water in the ways that Mira could previously. Well, now that smoking gun has finally gone off, and it really pays off. It's kind of bringing forth that dark tide prophecy that we were kind of given within the early stages of this run. Now we're starting to see that as we're kind of feels like we're getting towards the end game of this particular part of the story arc. Overall, though, Aquaman continues to be fun, and I'm having a really good time with it. Next up, we have Captain Planet and the Planeteers number 3, written by David Pepose with artwork by Aman Kasalos. This is all about fights and origins. Just big time fights, using the rings, using the powers, calling on Captain Planet, and then kind of pulling on the origins of Captain Planet and how the ring bearers play a part and what Captain Planet has done with, on Earth and kind of all the things that he's been included in, including kind of the time where the dinosaurs became extinct. So it's kind of cool watching David Pepose play with things that have happened way in the past and knowing the lineage that Captain Planet has had within, on Earth. While the readers of this kind of a book had, grew up with the cartoon at that time, may not need it. It was kind of nice having a character development kind of issue, which is exactly what this is. We get to see a lot of the motivations of these characters. We get to see a lot of the inner turmoil, especially with Kwame and Wheeler, as they kind of have a moment about whether or not someone should necessarily be the leader or the moral compass of the team. So it was kind of cool seeing the conflict that plays out with that. It does a good job of table setting, basically. We've had 3 issues now, and we have a firm understanding of the team, the ring bearers, what their goal is, and it doesn't necessarily get overwrought throughout that process, but I am definitely ready for Pepose to throw some uniqueness on top of this, being that we've, kind of already seen that, the kind of stuff with the cartoon. We know these characters. Well, now we know them in the comic for people who are new to the property. Now I'm ready for some uniqueness. And I think we're about to be delivered that because this issue has a cliffhanger with the character of Wheeler. That should be pretty exciting. By Crom, let's talk Conan the Barbarian number 23, written by Jim Zub with artwork by Fernando Dagnino. This issue really sees Conan teaming up with an unlikely ally with Zula, and they take on the leader of the Stygians. And it's really cool the way that things play out, because Conan was assisted previously, and they kind of form this uneasy alliance. It's one of those things that we get to see a lot with Conan, as he's very untrusting by nature, but each and every time that he lets someone in, they definitely befriend him, and it becomes a companion that goes the test of time, and I think that's what we're going to be getting here as well. Conan is showing a level of restraint in this issue that I think is really surprising for the most part, because again, his name is Conan the Barbarian. So to see him kind of pull back a little bit and let Zula take the lead was a really cool character trait that we get to see developed. Granted, it doesn't last all that long because there are moments of brutality that end up showing through here, and Dagnino does a great job at conveying those things. I said it in a previous review, and I'll echo it again here. They've kind of cemented themselves at the very least as a second best artist for me on the Conan title right now. If not, let's say 1A, 1B with Roberto Della Torre. I also can't wait for Roberto to come back, but I gotta say, Dagnino's killing it right now. So Conan the Barbarian continues to be this fun journey, the hero's quest here for Conan the Barbarian, and I continue to enjoy it. All right, let's talk Daredevil number 24, written by Saladin Ahmed with artwork by Jose Luis Soares Pinto. This was an effective issue. I've been very critical about Daredevil and maybe overly critical because of the level of fandom I have for that character, but I gotta say, this issue works for me. Matt is reeling a little bit over the nature of what's going on in his life. He's kind of picking himself up. He's trying to dust himself off. And that's kind of like the best state that Matt can ever be in because he's always making kind of bonehead decisions, albeit he tries to do what's right through and through. And that's where we're seeing this. And it's more of his personal life aspects outside of his decisions being Daredevil. That stuff has kind of worked itself out. He's back to being a superhero and he's back to doing the things that work out for him, but he needs to get his personal life in order. And we're going to get to start to see that. The marriage of art and color here really works for me. I love the way that they all work together here. It brings a really nice comic booky feel to it. There's a lot of nice rendering. It doesn't get too overly rendered. We're not talking like 90s comic book work here. It feels timely. It feels like the Marvel house style right now, but in the best way possible. It definitely works for me right here. The issue also, though, does feel a little bit resigned to its end, but that's also okay. We know that Saladin Ahmed's run is going to be coming to an end here. The title is being relaunched here sometime in the near future. We're going to find out what that means. But in regard to the scope of this issue and what it sets up, I feel like it was actually really effective. Next up, let's talk Fantastic Four number 2, written by Ryan North with artwork by Humberto Ramos. It's a weird issue for me. It's an issue of easy conveniences, but that's also kind of the point of the story. So it's hard to critique it when it's also kind of baked into the notion of it. If you've read it, you might know what I'm talking about here. Here's one thing I can tell you though. It's way better than One World Under Doom by a long shot. The revelation, I should say, of Doom's plan really makes this issue. Without it, nothing really works. So Doom has sent the Fantastic Four to different parts of time, basically, within on Earth. And it kind of plays with the notion of their powers. It kind of hamstrings them into not being able to use their best strengths. But the team has a plan. They find themselves in a place where they can get out of these, time periods that Doom has put them in and come back to the exact point where he had sent them. But that doesn't mean that it works out for the team necessarily. Also, let's talk about the elephant in the room here. Am I warming up to Johnny Storm's mustache? Maybe not here, but I will say Johnny Storm singing his own song set to the Spider-Man theme song totally made me chuckle in this issue. It's that kind of writing from Ryan North that really kind of brings a smile to my face, and I think it gives a little bit of levity that was needed in this issue. So, was it the best issue that I've read of Fantastic Four? No, not really. Was it okay? Yeah. All right, Power Fantasy 11 came out, written by Kieran Gillen with artwork by Casper Wingard. And they did it. Holy crap, they really did it in this issue. But did they? Like, everyone gets a moment in this issue to shine, whether it's Valentina or Eliza or Dev or Aetion. Like, everyone really gets a chance to shine in this issue, but it's all about the culmination of this basically assassination plot to take out one of these superpowers that have been kind of, I don't know, ethically holding everyone at bay, but also then hamstringing them and kind of making their lives a living hell. So it's kind of cool the way that things play out, and I like the way that it's kind of works itself out in this issue. It's almost kind of like an Ocean's 11 type plot where you get to like see them talking things through and then see the actions take place. It was a really inventive way to do it, and I really liked how they executed it within the issue. The group all coming together though, yikes. It is definitely drama filled. It's about as terrible as you'd expect. It's kind of like the worst version of Thanksgiving dinner for an uneasy family. That's the tone that we're trying to set here. And yet, the future feels like it can somehow still get worse, which is exciting too. They think that the best possible outcome may have happened through the worst circumstances, but no, no, no. They've just done something drastic and bold that is going to come back and bite them in the butt. So, Power Fantasy 11, really exciting issue, really great continuation. It's the end of this arc. There's no better time to play catch up right now. Catch up on the first trade, pick up the second trade when it comes out, be ready when Power Fantasy 12 comes out in October. Next up, we have The Slasher's Apprentice number 4, written by Justin Richards with artwork by Val Halverson. So, the apprentice in this issue is starting to garner a little bit too much attention. and it's not from the person who she wants that attention from. Halverson is doing a really good job on this book in particular. There's a lot of gruesome scenes, and I really like the rendering that is being put forth within the issue. And particularly, there's this one page that has like the cross section of a house where you see the slasher and the apprentice kind of going room to room and kind of going through their gruesome plan that they're trying to lay out here and kind of doing what serial killers do. Enough said, right? At this point, though, I'm kind of losing the point of the slasher and the apprentice relationship because the apprentice has a podcast, follows serial killers, has an appreciation, if you will, for them. But we're kind of losing track on some of the revelations that were given to us in issue number one and some of those, I don't know, background things that have happened in the past. There is no reason or there's no pulling forward of those kind of storylines. So I'm losing the plot a little bit here. There is some uneasiness between the slasher and the apprentice, and that's kind of cool. And it's setting things up for a big confrontation with another killer. However, I feel like I want more, especially at this point in the series being issue number 4. I wanted a little bit more of that revelation to come forward here. But that's not to say this was a bad issue. I'm definitely ready to see what they're delivering in issue number 5. We have a double dose of David Pepose this week, so let's talk Space Ghost number 1, written by David Pepose with artwork by Jonathan Lau. This is an absolutely great time to come back to the character of Space Ghost, get acclimated, find out what's going on here, because I have to say, if you're a fan of superhero comics, this is arguably the best traditional superhero comic that you are going to be getting through and through. No fuss, no muss, just superheroics, drama, great artwork, great writing. You have to check this out. And I know it's not the traditional Spider-Man, Batman kind of thing, but trust me when I say it's worthwhile. So this is a great jumping on point, and we get to spend time with Jan and Jace as they are now kind of getting to know their grandfather character, who is in the process of kind of taking over as caretaker for them and kind of building that family foundation back up. All the while, Space Ghost is taking on the Toymaker character and kind of going through the ramifications of just fighting a bad guy. It feels very classic. It feels Batman 66 style, but not in tone necessarily. It's just very traditional. Bad guy tries to fight good guy prevails. But all through there, we're kind of juxtaposed with Jan kind of talking about who Space Ghost is and why he means so much to them as characters and what he's done to save them and give them purpose in their lives. And it's a really great back and forth. It's great pacing, and it's really a good mechanism to get to know these characters again if you're coming back or if you're not relatively familiar with the character of Space Ghost and his cast and crew. So again, Space Ghost number 1, great traditional superhero storytelling. Definitely check it out if you haven't done so already. Next up, we have Spider-Man and Wolverine number 4, written by Mark Guggenheim with artwork by Geraldo Sandoval. Y'all remember that episode of Seinfeld when that blazing red light is coming through from the Kenny Rogers roasters and Kramer's totally just addicted to that chicken and the light goes off and he's sitting there going, Kenny? Kenny? Yeah, that's what it's kind of like not having Kari Andrews on here. I'm reading this issue going, Kari? Kari? But he needed an issue off, and I'm going to have to be okay with that. When it comes to what this issue is all about here, we're starting to learn what the villainous people are doing to Spider-Man and Wolverine throughout this series, as each and every time they come across these villains and they have a chance to actually strike the winning blow and really kind of win in regards to a physical aspect, they're magically transported away to this new location with a new set of villains, and it just kind of keeps going over and over and over. So Spider-Man and Wolverine are going to have to find some kind of different way to, hold these villains at bay while also trying to figure out what exactly is going on here. It's a silly, fun, nonsensical story, but that's kind of also the point here. It feels 90s, and that's okay. But when I say that, again, I'm going to circle back around to the first thing I said here. I really miss Kari Andrews. Get him back on this book, please, 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 because we need it. That's what delivers the visual aspect that is so fun about this, and we need that for this story to be successful. So Spider-Man and Wolverine was really lacking in that area, and I needed it. All right, Transformers number 23, written by Daniel Warren Johnson with artwork by Jorge Corona. We're talking the penultimate issue of Daniel Warren Johnson's time on Transformers here, and it's really a build up to the final assault. That's what this issue is all about here. Optimus is in the Hall of Primes. He comes across an unlikely companion, or maybe an unknown companion, who helps him kind of get his groove back, if you will, helps him heal, helps him kind of, get back into the fray. All the while, this unlikely companion, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, also helps out maybe another person that who has kind of been in need of that person's help throughout the entirety of this series so far. This is like the hallmark of penultimate issues. It delivers on all those premises. It sets us up for the final conflict. It really kind of like has that aha moment for our main players. It delivers on all those kind of things. It really does a great job of doing so. And Jorge Corona, he does just such a great job on this book. Like we talked about Daniel Warren Johnson early on and how we didn't think that anyone would be able to take the reins. Jorge Corona has absolutely taken the reins so much that I think of his artwork even maybe more so than Daniel Warren Johnson. And knowing that we're going to have a different creative team and a totally different artistic style come issue number 25, it makes me weary. It really, really does. But that's the critique of something in the future, and maybe those worries will be put to the side for this issue, though. It totally works. The fight scenes are impactful, they're kinetic in the same way that we've come to know and love from Transformers. And it totally worked. So I'm really excited to see where they close things up here. Transformers number 23, totally ruled. Next up, we have The Ultimates number 15, written by Dennis Camp with artwork by Von Randall. So, in a week that we've seen a couple different guest artists, I have to say this guest artist was probably the most effective and impactful one that we've seen for any issue this week. Von Randall brings this kung fu vibe and mastery to this issue that really works out well for me. It's all about finding out the character of Shang-Chi, where he has been within the Ultimate Universe, what kind of power set he has, and it's really cool. I really like what they're doing and playing with this character, as he has been kind of a mishmash of both the Shang-Chi Master of Kung Fu character and the Iron Fist character. And we get to learn a little bit more about the nature of not only him but also Kunlun in this world as well. So it's really cool. We also get to see a little bit of revenge here on the immortal weapons that Hulk has been harnessing, the ones that, yes, quite frankly, killed the Ultimates in a previous issue. So it's nice to see that we get a little bit of revenge in that facet as well, because now we see the Ultimates team growing a little bit. They're not one to kind of take on so kindly the nature of these villainous characters that are coming through. Also, with knowing that we're in Kunlun and that there's things with the Iron Fist, we also get to spend a little bit of time with Danny Rand as they kind of go along with the Ultimates. So they're setting some future things up here as well. The roster of Ultimates continues to grow and grow, and that's really exciting here. That's part of the best stuff about the Ultimates, is kind of seeing how this team comes together, because they are very truly like the last line of defense against the Maker, and that's coming down the pipeline very, very soon. And with my runner up pick of the week, let's talk Batman Dark Patterns number 9, written by Dan Waters with artwork by Hayden Sherman. This was a great issue. This was maybe my favorite issue of the series thus far, and it's the end of the third act here as we're taking on the Red Hood gang. And Batman is using his prowess to pester and test the fortitude of this familial criminal organization, if you will, that are kind of in the worst of the worst area within Gotham. I love the premise of patterns kind of being somehow turned on its head here. We kind of open this three-issue arc up with Batman maybe possibly seeing patterns that aren't there, right? And he's trying to put together threads of these crime strings that don't necessarily come to fruition. But then later on, we also see it's kind of under the same facet of the criminals themselves. They're kind of facing down things that maybe aren't necessarily there, or they're seeing resolutions that are not truly by way of their actions, if that makes sense. Sherman does fantastic work. I know I talk about his artwork every single issue, but it's just that noteworthy. It's fantastic. There's a double page spread with a face down between Batman and our main villain, the Red Hood, if you will, and their dueling ideologies, and the way that the panel work is kind of framed within those two faces as they are facing each other absolutely works. It's masterful stuff. Any other week, this probably would have been top comic of the week here, but Batman Dark Patterns number 9 is my runner up. And with my top comic of the week, Let's talk Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum #1. Written by W. Maxwell Prince with artwork by Martin Morazzo. Man, it feels weird to talk about that team and not say Ice Cream Man. Maybe it's Ice Cream Superman. Let's go with that. Prince's inner monologue for the character of Clark really works for me. It's homey, it's down to earth, or down to Krypton, I guess, whichever way you want to really play that. But you get what I'm trying to say here. It's down to, it's homey. It's a character that you know and love, and they have that Midwestern sensibility. Prince and Morazzo are really giving me Morrison and Quitely vibes here. And I don't mean to make that comparison to say that they are at that same level or it's the same kind of book as All-Star Superman, because it's not. But it's to say that it feels immediately essential. It feels vital. It feels like a storyline that's going to mean something for the character that is Superman and become something that is instrumental to how people perceive this character. It's just awesome. Like it's hard to really describe what's happening here, because basically what happens is Clark finds these new pieces of kryptonite that give new inventive things for our creators of the comic book to play with, right? And Clark has to test himself with the help of Batman and find out what exactly it is that these things do. And he calls in the help of Batman. And I gotta say, just in the same way that Clark's monologue works for this issue, Morazzo and Prince also do a fantastic job with the character of Bruce Wayne here. They really kind of have an understanding of the relationship that these two people have and how Clark needs to trust Bruce, but Bruce will never necessarily inherently trust everyone because he kind of has to have those contingency plans in place. It was just a really effective issue, and I love that the framing device is going to be testing each one of these new pieces of kryptonite to then kind of have this adventure that is going to give us more to learn and grow from the character of Clark, Kal-El, or Superman. Really unique setup here. The artwork works. The writing is stupendous here. It was just glorious. So Superman here, the Kryptonite Spectrum issue #1 here was totally worthwhile of Top Comic of the Week. So that's what I've got for you this week, but I'm more curious. What did you read, and what were your thoughts? Do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe, and be part of the panel. Leave me a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you next week.